that, I've completed 8 rows of decrease for that gap in the shoulder, and this is also the last row of no decreases or increases for the gap at the front. And after this row, we're going to start increasing again to close that gap just there at the front. So what we're going to do now though is we're going to start closing the gap on the sleeves. So to do that, we're going to put in all the stitches till you get to the 11th stitch. So that's 1 and 2 and 3. So I'll see you at 11. Okay, here we are at the 11th stitch. So into that 11th stitch, I'm going to put 1 double crochet, followed by another double crochet. So 2 double crochets into the 11th stitch, and then you're just going to, sorry, you're just going to put in that final stitch at the end there. So the 12th one along. Oh, where are we? There we are. Just like that. Then I've already cut the yarn, but we're going to chain that one and pull it through just like normal. So there we go, that's our first increase. Now that we've done that, we're going to find the end of our yarn, make a fresh slip knot. Oh, trying to throw it away. So just like this, finding the end of your yarn, you're going to make a fresh slip knot and pick up the other side of that gap on the sleeve. And just like you did before when you were decreasing, you're going to go into that first stitch just there, adjust the slip knot to the hook and pull it through. Pull that tight to adjust the slip knot. And just like this, hang on. Yes, there we are. Now, pulling that slip knot tight, you're going to chain up 1. Wait for the camera to adjust itself. So you've chained up 1, you're going to put 1 double crochet into that first stitch where you've put the chain of 1, so just like that, remembering to crochet in those scraggly ends just there. Then into the next stitch along, so the second stitch, you're going to put 2 double crochets, 1 and 2 double crochets into the same stitch. Then you're just going to complete the stitches to the next increase section, and you are going to complete the increase section, finish up the stitches along the back till the next increase section, where you will be at the next shoulder section, well, next shoulder. You're going to repeat the process that you just did here for that shoulder. Then you're going to complete the round. Once we get, well, I'll meet back up with you for the start of the next round, I think, so we can go through it together. We can start on increasing again for the front gap. So we're going to do that. So yes, but I'm sure you know what to do for the next shoulder section. So just do the same thing. You're going to double crochet to the 11th stitch, put 2 double crochets into the 11th stitch, and then 1 double crochet into the final stitch. Tie off your yarn, make a fresh slip knot and put it through the first of the stitches on this side. Then you're going to chain up 1 double crochet beside the chain of 1, 2 double crochets into the second stitch, and then just finish up the round. Okay, so I'll see you for the next round. Okay, see you soon. Okay, now I'm just about to start that next round. So here we are at the front, and we're going to chain up 1 and turn, and now we're going to start to close that gap at the front. So to do that, we're going to put a double crochet into the first stitch, so 1, and then 2 double crochets into the second stitch along, so that's 2. Then you can, no wait, no, 2 double crochets into the second stitch, 2, like that. Now you're going to complete your double crochets to the next increase section, where you will double crochet to the second last stitch in the middle. Oh, okay, let's go through it together. So you will double crochet to the second last stitch just here, and you will put 2 double crochets into the second last stitch, 1 double crochet into the last stitch, tie off, move on to the next side, where you will make a slip knot, adjust the slip knot through the first stitch, chain up 1, put a double crochet into the first stitch beside the chain of 1, double crochet twice into the second stitch, and so on. And so you're going to be doing that until you've closed that gap of 16. So there'll be 18 rows of increase. I mean, sorry, not 18, 8 rows of increase. And likewise for the front, well, not likewise for the front, but similarly for the front, I think there's going to be 4, because we did 4 rows of decrease to begin with. We're going to do 4 rows of increase before we're ready to join that gap at the front. So yes, I don't think there's much more I need to tell you. I think from here, I will meet back up with you when we're ready to, because I think we'll be obviously closing the front gap first before we close the shoulder gaps. So I'll meet back up with you when we're ready to do that. Also, I'm not sure how many rows I've done so far, rounds. So we got 1, let's count together quickly. So not including the one we're doing now, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we've got 3 more left till 16, and that's what I'm estimating I should be able to pull the front and the back seams beneath my arms to, you know, fit comfortably beneath my arms. But, you know, we'll meet back up for that as well, and we'll have a look at it. So yeah, we'll go away. We will complete the rounds that are going to close the gap at the front. We'll meet back up when we've done those 4 rounds, and you're still working on your shoulders, as you know. So yeah, and we'll go through that together. Okay, see you soon. Okay, now I've done 16 rounds. And the next round is also going to be the final round of increases for the gap at the front. So after we've done that, we'll be ready to join that gap. So what we're going to do now is we're going to chain up 1 and begin another round. So turn the work, chain up 1, turn the work, turn the work, and completing our final increase for that front gap on this side, we are yarning over in double crochet into the first stitch, 2 double crochets into the second stitch, so 1 and 2. Then we're going to double crochet up until the first increase section, and once you get to that increase section, we're going to meet back up and we're going to talk about how we're going to join it to the corresponding increase section at the back. Okay, see you soon. Okay, now here I am at that first increase section, and what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to pick up the corresponding increase section at the back, fold it together with this one at the front, so just like this, and then we're going to, so you see it's just like this. So there's that arm section, and what we're going to do is we're going to very, very simply, holding those increase sections together like this, we're going to yarn over, insert your hook through both of those chain spaces, both of the increase sections, yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So we've just double crocheted the increase sections together. It's really as simple as that. Now what we do is moving straight onto, we're going to just bypass the arm for the moment, and we're going to move straight onto the stitches at the back. So you're going to double crochet across those stitches at the back, and once you get to the next increase section, you're going to do exactly the same as you just did here. You're going to fold that back increase section with the increase section at the front. You're going to double crochet them together, and you're going to work your double crochets to the end of the round. And so at the end, obviously we're doing our last increase for the for that side of the gap. So you'll be putting 2 double crochets into the second last stitch and 1 double crochet into the last stitch, but we're going to meet back up at that point and we're going to join the round together. Then we're going to talk about what we're going to do next. Okay, see you soon. right, now that I've finished the round and I've put my final increase into that side of the gap in the front, what we're going to do is we're just going to pick up the other side of the gap. So just here, picking up the other side of the gap, and we're going to look for that chain one from the beginning. So that one just there, look for that. We're going to insert our hook into that chain of one from the beginning. So let's see if we can focus the camera properly. So inserting your hook into that chain of one, just up there, slip stitch to close the round. Now what we're going to do is we're going to chain up 2. So 1, 2, and we're going to turn the work. Now, because we're working in the rounds and we're joining, we're going to start to not put our first stitch into that stitch directly beneath the chain one at the beginning again. So get closer. So not into that one there, but into the next one along. You're going to be double crocheting, and you're just going to be putting double crochets all the way around till you get back to the beginning. And your final stitch is going to be into that connecting stitch just there. So I'll just point to that one there. So into that connecting one just there beneath the chain of 2. That's going to be your final stitch. So we'll go away, we'll finish our round, but then I think after we've done this round, we're going to just leave it for the minute and get working on the arms, because I want to finish the arms before we just finish anything else, because there's a bit more left to do. As you know, we haven't finished the gaps yet, and then there's more gaps to do. All right, so it's good. It's all fun and exciting. So yes, all right, I'll see you shortly for the end of the round and getting back to work on the arms. Okay, see you soon. Okay, now here I am at the end of the round, just putting in my final stitch into that, like I said, that connecting stitch just there beneath that chain of 2. And then what we're going to do is we're going to find that stitch at the top of the chain of 2. So let's get closer, have a look. Yeah, so there's that chain of 2 just there. Into that stitch just above it, we're going to slip stitch to close the round. Now what I'm going to do at this point is I'm just going to chain 1, find my scissors. I'm going to just tie it off for the moment, because we can always reconnect some yarn. Then we're just going to pull that chain through to tie it secure. And what we're going to do is we're going to start work on one of the arms. We'll get back to work on one of the arms. Now you're going to want to make sure that your work is turned to the side where you're going to be starting. So usually you would, okay, no, if it was still connected. So what happens is, see the braid on this side of the work. What happens is, this is the side you've been working on, then you chain up 2 and you turn the work, and now you're working into the other side of the stitch. So on the arm, you're going to be making sure that side of the stitch is facing you to begin with. And what we're going to be doing is, so here's the sleeve, just like that. And here's where we joined those seams. So what you're going to do is you're going to stick your hook back through those seams, and you're going to find some fresh yarn and make a slip knot. So finding a fresh yarn, make a slip knot, and you're going to adjust that knot to the hook like this. Pull that tight, but not too tight, because you want it to sort of go around those seams, you know. So making sure it's not too tight. Then you're going to, from there, chain up 2, so 1 and 2, and you're just going to move straight into the next stitch along on the arm from that seam. So moving into the next stitch along, double crochet, and because we're still increasing for the gap on the shoulder just there, you're going to still be increasing. So I think I've done 4 increases, so there's 4 more to go, so that we complete the 8 increases to make up for all the decreases we did for those 8 rounds. So you're going to double crochet till you get to the second last stitch on this side of the decrease, double crochet twice into that second last stitch, and then, yep, we're going to repeat the process that we've done before. We're going to chain 1, cut the yarn, tie it off, move on to the other side of the gap, And we're going to continue. Okay, yeah. Then you're going to complete your round of the arm. So once you get to the end of the round, you're going to slip stitch into the top of the chain 2 from the beginning, chain up 2, turn the work, and so now you're obviously just working on the gap increase at this point. So going back and forth, but with, you know, only the sleeve. Anyway, I think you know what to do from here. So if you don't, just leave me a message or, you know, message me somehow and I'll try and talk you through it. Okay, so I'll see you when we finish this gap. We complete 4 more rounds till the gap is finished. Yeah, we'll meet back up at that point and we'll talk about what we're going to do after that. Okay, see you soon. Alright, now here I am on the first side of the last increase of this gap. So I've done the 8th increase just here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the other side and I'm going to yarn over, and we're going to double crochet straight from this side into the first stitch on this side. So we're going to put 1 double crochet into that first stitch just here, like this. Then 2 double crochets for the final increase on this side into the second stitch. Then we're going to complete the round and slip stitch into the top of the chain 2 from the beginning of the round to close it. Then after that we're going to chain up 2, turn the work, double crochets back in the other direction, and we're going to do 4 more rounds till we begin the next gap. So we'll meet back up when we've done our 4 more rounds. So that's 4 more rounds after this join. So just, yeah, complete 4 more rounds. We'll meet back up and we'll go from there. All right, see you soon. Okay, now that I've done my 4 rounds down from that first gap in the sleeve, we're going to start work on the second gap. And to do that, it's going to be exactly the same process as the last one, except for this one, we're only going to be doing 6 rounds of decrease followed by the 6 rounds of increase to close the gap. So at the widest point of the gap, it will be a gap of 12 stitches. So that's what we're going to be doing for this one. I don't really think I need to run you through how we're going to do that. You're just obviously working your way to the middle of the sleeve, but you're going to be double crocheting together every 3rd last and 2nd last stitch, then putting in the last stitch and tying off, moving on to the next stitch along, working in a double crochet into that first stitch, double crochet the 2nd and the 3rd stitch together, work your way to the end of the round of the sleeve, slip stitch into the top of the chain 2 from the beginning, chain up 2, turn the work, and just repeat that process until you've done the 6 rounds of decrease for the gap. However, what we're doing now, well, actually what we're doing once we get to the 5th round of this gap is we're going to start to decrease so that the sleeve tapers towards the wrist. So I know this sounds kind of complicated, and I will meet back up with you at the 5th round so that we know what we're doing, and I'll talk you through that process. So we're going to be decreasing by 2 stitches every 2nd round till we've decreased by 10 stitches. And this has got nothing to do with the gap, it's just the decrease of the actual sleeve itself. But while you're doing this, you are still working on the gap. So like I said, I will meet back up with you when we get to the 5th round, and we will go through it together. Just because I know it is starting to sound a little bit complicated, which, you know, I'm not a huge fan of complications of any sort, but this is how this works. So we're just gonna have to grin and bear it. All right, so like I said, the process is the same, and I will meet back up with you on the 5th round. We'll have a look at how it's going and talk about how we're going to start decreasing the sleeve. Okay, see you soon. Okay, now here I am, and I'm 4 rows into the 2nd gap. So what we're going to do for this round is we're going to chain up 2 and turn, starting a new round as normal. However, what we'll be doing for each round from now on, well, actually not for each round, it will be for every third round. So there'll be this one, then you're going to do one, two, and then the third one after this. You will be decreasing by every second and third last and second last stitch of the round. But you're also still doing your decreases and increases for the gap. So that's something you're going to have to really watch what you're doing, like just sort of try and focus on what you're doing. Just remember that you have to decrease for the sleeve to taper it by every third round. And I think we're going to be doing this we want to decrease by 10 stitches all up. So I think it will be the 15th round from here will be the last time you'll be doing that. If you know what I mean. I hope that makes sense. So let's do this together. So it's yarn over. We're going to put the first double crochet in. Then the second and the third, we're double crocheting together. Then, I think we're still decreasing. Yes, we're still decreasing for this round for the gap. So you're going to work your decreases as normal for that. And when you get to the end of the round, yeah, like I said, just double crochet the third last and the second last stitch together, put in your last stitch, close the round. Then for the next 2 rounds, you won't have to worry about decreasing for the taper for the sleeve. You're just going to be doing the gap. So I think we've got this 5 and then 6. So you've only got this round and then another round to do for the decreases for this gap. And then you're going to start to increase that again to join. So you're going to be doing 6 rounds for that. Do you know what I mean? If this doesn't make sense, please let me know in the comments and I will try to explain it in writing. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'll try to explain. This really has been quite the process, but you know. Here we are, and this is what we're doing. All right, so yes, like I said, contact me. Let me know if it's not making any sense. So yeah, I will meet back up with you once we've done 2 rounds. Okay, so decrease for the taper on this round, do 2 rounds, but still doing your decreases, increases for the gap. We'll meet back up. We'll see how it's going. Okay. All right. See you soon. Okay, so here we are, and I've done 3 rows up from the last time I began to decrease for the tapering of the sleeve, and I'm on the first round of increasing again for this second gap. So what I've done also is I've put a stitch marker around one of those decrease bits that I decreased for that third row, just so you see where you're up to, and it reminds you that, you know, for every third row you've got a decrease. So I've done 2 rows. So there's that one where I decreased, then 1, 2. Now we're going to do another one. So chaining up 2, return the work, and double crochet into the first stitch along. So 1, then double crocheting the second and third stitch together. Then double crochets to where we'll be increasing again for closing the gap. But what I suggest is just every time you do an increase row, move the stitch marker up onto that increase that you've just done. So that'll remind you for the next time you have to. And also remember, at the end of this round, you're going to be decreasing again. So by the end of the round, you'll decrease the third last and the second last stitch together. So don't forget to do that. But yeah, that's really all you have to remember. If you want to, you can put stitch markers around that as well, so that you don't forget. Actually, that's probably a really good idea. So put stitch markers on both the first and that last decrease that you'll do for the tapering. So then you'll remember that every third row you have to do it again. And yeah, that's how we're going to do that. So like I said, I'm decreasing by 10 stitches. So I think that there'll be, I don't want to complicate things. So yeah, I'm decreasing by 10 stitches. So now I've decreased by 2 for the last round. There's 1, there'll be another one. So that will be 4. Then moving on to the next third round, that will be 6, and so on. So yeah, that's how we're doing it. And then just continuing the decrease. And now we're on the increases for this gap. So continuing these increases. I will meet back up with you when I've finished doing this gap. And we're going to close this gap together, and we're going to talk, we're just going to check in, see how things are going. Yeah. So let's do that. All right. I hope this one is not too complicated and irritating for you. So I'll see you again soon. All right, and here I am just about to put in my 6th round of increases to close this gap. So what have we got here? We've got stitch for the increase, so 1 and 2. Then we're putting in our last double crochet of this side, then picking up the other side, and we're going to double crochet straight into the first stitch on that side. So try and get right into that stitch, double crochet, then 2 stitches into the next stitch, so 1 and 2. So there's that gap closed. Now you're going to work double crochets to the end, and the previous round was a round of decrease for the tapering. So I've got this round and another round to go before I do that again, but I think I've only got 2 more rounds, or 2 more of those decreases left till we've done 10 till we've decreased by 10 stitches, so we can forget about that. But now what we're going to do is after we've closed up this round, you're going to be doing 4 rounds before the next gap that we're going to make. So the 3rd and final gap, I'm going to do 4 rounds before that. But yeah, like I said, you're still doing the decreases for the tapering, so just keep an eye on that, and then once you've done that and you've decreased by 10 stitches all up, you won't have to worry about it anymore, which is going to be fantastic. Okay, so I'll see you when we've done our 4 rounds and we're going to get started on the 3rd gap. But pretty much the 3rd gap is just going to be exactly the same as the last ones, except with a slightly different decrease amount and increase amount. All right, so I'll see you again. I'll see you again soon when we're ready to start that. All right, now that I've completed 4 rounds down from the previous gap, we're going to start work on the 3rd and final gap. So I think right now I have a stitch count of 40, but we're on our last round of decreases for the tapering. So we can take out that stitch marker just there, and we're going to do our final round of those decreases. So just the same as the last ones, we chain up 2, turn the work, and double crochet into the first stitch along. So double crochet, first stitch along, double crochet together the 2nd and the 3rd stitch. Then what did I say? I said we're a stitch count of 40, including these decreased ones. So we'll be working up to stitch 18, and we'll be double crocheting together the 18th and the 19th stitch. And here I am, double crocheting the 18th and the 19th stitch together. Then you're going to put in your 20th double crochet, just like that. Then chain 1. Find your scissors, cut the yarn, tie it off, move along to the next stitch. So you're doing the same thing. You are repeating the process. Stitch marker. You're repeating the process that you did for the previous 2 gaps, but this time you'll only be decreasing for 4 rounds and then increasing for another 4 rounds, so that the gap that you'll have at the widest point of the gap, the stitches, it will be a missing stitch count of 8. Yes, it'll be that. So that's what we're doing. And then obviously when you get to the end of this particular round, don't forget to put in that last decrease for the tapering, and then you'll have a stitch count when you're done with that of 38. Once you finish this gap, and then once you finish this gap, I don't think we need to meet back up again to do that. So remember, it's decreasing for 4 rounds, increasing for 4 rounds. So yes, that's what we're doing. And then once you've done that, you are going to continue double crocheting your sleeve. to a desired length, to a length that you're happy with, but leave a little bit at the end because we're going to be adding a ribbed cuff. So it's going to be the same, it's going to be exactly the same as this, just a cuff. Yeah, so that's what we're doing. All right, so I will meet you, and I don't think I need to meet you again for the body either. So what you're doing for that is just when you're going to repeat the process that you've done for this sleeve for the other one. So I don't think I really need to say that. But when it comes time to complete work on the body, just reattach your yarn and chain up 2, turn the work, double crochets back in the other direction. When you get to the end of the round, slip stitch into the top of the chain 2 to close the round, chain up 2, turn the work, and just repeating until you've grown the body to a length that you're happy with. And the same as the sleeves, leave a little space at the end because we're going to be doing the same thing. Adding the hem at the bottom, which is the ribbed orange hem. Yes, so I think we're done to where we've reached that stage. If you've stuck with me till this point, you're a complete champion, and I look forward to seeing you when it comes time to, to do the ribbing. All right, see you soon. Okay, now that I've done both of my sleeves and I've added the ribbed hem to one of them, I'm going to add the ribbed hem to the next one. I'm going to show you how it's done, and when it comes time for you to do the hem for the body, it's exactly the same process. So what we do is we find, where are we? So working from the outside, you want to have the side facing out. That's the side that's going to be facing out when you're wearing it. So this side. I'm going to our first stitch along. You're going to stick your hook through that stitch and picking up your yarn that you're going to use. So the orange, we're going to make a fresh slip knot, and we're going to adjust that knot to the stitch like this. Then what we're going to do straight from here is we're going to chain up 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Then, just like the collar, skipping that first stitch from the hook or the first chain from the hook, you single crochet into the second chain from the hook, and then into all of the chains back to the beginning of the chain. All right, and here I am with 8 single crochets along that chain. Now, because the original foundation chain beneath that row of single crochets represents the first stitch that you put your slip stitch into, and you adjusted it just there, the row of single crochets is going to represent the next stitch along. So you're going to, straight from that last stitch you did on the changes there, slip stitch into the next stitch along, so just like that, slip stitch, and then because the next row of single crochets going up is going to represent the next stitch along after that, you're going to slip stitch into the next stitch along after that. Then you turn, and it may seem kind of awkward at first, but turning like this, you just put your first stitch through the whole of that first stitch, then into the top back part for stitches 2 through to 7, and then for the 8th stitch through the whole of the stitch, and then you chain up 1, turn the work, repeat that process back down to the beginning, slip stitch into the next stitch along on the hem just here, then slip stitch into the stitches. So basically when you get back to here, you're going to slip stitch into 2 stitches along. So that's what you're going to do, and you're going to do that to the end of the round. Well, you're going to do it around. So I think I've got 38 stitches around here, so there'll be 38 rows of ribbing to the end. And then once you get to the end, it's going to be just like the collar. You're going to slip stitch the last row of single crochets together with the original foundation chain. Make chain 1, pull the chain through, cut the yarn, tie it off, and that's it. And then just weave in your ends. And that's how that goes. It's very, very simple. So now that I've shown you how to do this, I am going to run you through quickly the process that I've used for putting the edging on the gaps. But after that, we're pretty much done. Okay, I will see you in a moment. All right, now I'm going to show you how I put the edging around the gaps. So what I'm going to do is I do 2 layers of edging. So what I mean by that is also what we do first is we find the first row. So here's the gap. And also we're working, so what you're going to do is you're going to be working on this side. So it's kind of on the inside, but you're still holding it on the outside, if you know what I mean. So find that first row along this side of the gap. I'm really going to try and explain this properly. Stick your hook through. Okay, so here's a row. We're going to put a stitch into each. So one single crochet in, two single crochets into each row end. And there's two kind of spaces where you can put each single crochet. But first we're going to put our hook through the bottom of this row. So that's the first one along on this side. We're going to find our white yarn. And the reason I'm doing a layer of white yarn first for the edging is because when you put in your layer of orange or the other color that you're going to use, it looks more neat. Otherwise it looks a little bit jagged and rough if you just, so there we go, we've just adjusted a slip knot, of the white yarn. You chain up one, you're going to put a single crochet in next to that slip knot. Then moving on to the second part of that row end, so second part of that double crochet stitch, just there, single crochet, and then moving on to the next row end just there. You can see there's two parts of the stitch. If you pull it apart, you can see there's like a join between both parts. So single crochet twice into that second row. It's a bit messy. Yeah, so two single crochets into each row end. And I think this is the last one. So I think there's going to be 24 on each side, so there'll be 48 all around on this hole for me, just based on how many row ends there are. So 48 single crochets. Then once I get to the end, I'm going to slip stitch into the top of the chain one from the beginning, close around, chain up one, cut the yarn, pull that chain through to secure it. Then we're going to meet back up once we've done that, and I'll show you. We'll just put in the orange one, and then then we'll be done. All right, see you soon. Alright, now here I am with my round of single crochets around that gap in the white yarn. I was wrong, there's actually a stitch count of 32 because there was 16 on either side of the gap. So we've done that. Now what we're doing is working from the side that's facing out, so this side. What we're going to do is we're going to stick our hook, so you're basically turning it as though you would be, turning it as though you would be working into the next round. Anyway, so what you're going to do is you're going to stick your hook through the first stitch. So, and it's going to be easier too because you've got stitches to work around instead of the row ends. So yes, then we're finding our orange yarn. We make a slip knot. I'm going to adjust that slip knot to the hook and pull it through the stitch. And then adjust the slip knot and chain up one. And I'm going to be crocheting those scraggly bits in as I go along. So what you do here is you just single crochet next to that slip stitch and chain of one, and then a single crochet into every stitch around. So for me there's 32. Yes, for me there's 32, and then that's it. And once you get to the end, you slip stitch into the chain one from the beginning. So just there into that chain one. Chain one, snip the yarn, tie it off, pull that chain through. This is a long tutorial and I apologize, but it's been a journey, and I guess we'll see what it looks like when we try it on at the end. I don't think I will see you at the end. We'll try on our sweaters, we'll see how they look. I don't think they're gonna look like an egg chair, but who knows, they might. Oh, now I just need to shut up and get on with it. Okay, let's go away, let's do our stuff, and then, I'll see you very, very soon when, looking forward to see how it does out. Okay, see you soon. Okay, so here it is all finished. So yes, like I said, I'm not sure how I feel about this one. I love the colors, I love the white and the orange together. And I really love the concept, I love the idea of it, but I feel like I could have made the hole at the front a little bit bigger. I think I already said that. And yeah, maybe tried to make the gaps more circular. So I think I'm going to work on that and maybe try it again at a later date with more circular gaps. Yeah, but I'd love to, like I said, I'd love to hear what you think. Let me know in the comments if you like it or you don't like it, either way. But thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.